Hello everybody and welcome to the Gyropod ship tutorial. In this tutorial we will learn how to make a basic ship that can fly. Okay, now to begin, I have spawned the basic ship model that I want to use. You can of course use a much more complicated system, but we're going for efficiency in this one. I've got my chair, an advanced pod controller, a not invert gate which can be found on the wire tab under gates and logic, and we've got a constant value chip that we give 3 values to. For the moment I've set them all to 0.5. We'll fine tune that once we actually get into flight. And of course we've got the gyropod. Now the gyropod, if we select the tool, you'll see in the top there it says if I right click on the gyropod I can start linking it to a vehicle. Now if you do that, when you're in the vehicle you will actually have the vehicle aim for wherever your mouse is aiming. If you prefer, you can wire it to the controls, so we can skip this step if you want to use keys to aim, but I like to link it up. Now if you see my chat box there, it's just confirmed that it's been linked. So as I said, that will allow the ship to aim wherever I aim the mouse, which just saves a bit wiring later on. Now just whilst we're doing the pod controller, I'm going to right click on the pod controller with the advanced pod controller tool and right click on the chair. So now that chair is not only linked to the gyropod but the pod controller, which will allow us to use it for inputs. Now the gyropod, it has fins at the back by the default model, which you can change, but for this tutorial we're just going to leave it with the default model. Those fins are important to make sure they stop at the back, because that is the rear of the gyropod, and things get just a little bit complicated if we don't. Now I've no collided the gyropod, which means I can now just slide it straight into the ship. Now you could use easy precision, but the crease on the ship's hull is a pretty good indicator of where I want it. I'm going to weld it into place. Now, for your gyropod, it's ideally placed somewhere in the central region of the ship. Now, if you wanted, you could set alpha to 0 and it would be completely invisible. And since it's been right-clicked with the no collide tool, it won't collide with anything except for the terrain. Now, we've got our basic ship design. I'm going to get my wire advanced tool out. Now, the first thing I like to do is I like to wire the A value of my not invert gate to the active of the advanced pod controller, and then I like to wire the freeze value for the gyropod to the not gate. Now what that does, if you heard the click, is the ship has now been frozen by the gyropod, and that is because the seat is not in use, which is exactly how I want it. And then I'm going to wire the active value of the gyropod to the active on the advanced pod controller. So what will happen is, when I jump in, you can hear the gyropod's on, and because I've got mouse aim on, the cursor is already aiming the ship, and as soon as I jump out, the whole ship is frozen again, allowing for maximum stability and minimal impact on the server. Now, it's pretty much done at this point, but of course we can't move forward. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to left click there on the forward option, I'm going to left click on the pod controller and left click again on W. And roll my mouse wheel down one more, left click on back, and I'm going to left click on here, and we'll have S for back. Now we could go through every single control there, but that's enough to get us started. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to roll down to pitch mult. I'm going to link that to the first value on my constant value chip. I'm going to do the yaw mult and then the roll mult as well. And what that will do is it will half the sensitivity of yaw, roll and pitch. Now, as you can see, it's not yawing very much left to right. That's my yaw. Up and down's a little bit slow, but other than that, it's pretty good. Now if I hop out and I get my constant value chip back, I'm going to increase the yaw to 1.5. We'll try for this one. That was the pitch. That's the yaw. Change the yaw and the pitch to 1.5. I'm going to leave roll at 0.5 for the moment. That's a lot better. You can keep fine-tuning those values until you get just right. Now you'll notice the ship is not level right now. So I'm going to link up the level command to shift, I think. And I'm also going to do roll left to ear and roll right to D. If you just give me one moment. There we go. And now, if I hold the shift, the ship will balance off. It'll still turn left and right, but as long as I've got the shift held down, it will not roll. And if I do ear, I roll to the left, and D, I roll to the right. And you can just adjust the sensitivity, as I say, with the constant value chips, and away you go. Now, of course, there is no life support in the ship right now, but that's not a problem. And at some point I probably want to wire in a button to go down and up, but for the moment I can just fly about. And there you have it, a Gyropod ship. Now, the one last step you will want to do once the ship's finalized is you'll want to parent the ship. Now, you can either use the body as the parent or the Gyropod. I tend to do the body because that is what you're standing on, and you want most of the physics on the body. Now, on the 3 Kelvin server which we're on right now, the parent tool is actually a super parent tool, and it has some extra features, as well as it saves a little bit more of the physics for the ship. Now, if I right click there, you'll see it says parent and complete, and the ship handles just as before, but now if I had a complicated ship, I haven't got anything jerking and spazzing out of control inside. And in fact, I can get out and I can unfreeze the ship and I throw it about as much as I like, and everything's just going to stick to the ship as if it was permanently welded there, which it is indeed. Well, thank you for watching the tutorial. Stay tuned for next one, where we will actually cover the life support and the ability to survive in space.